It's 11:30 at night. You were supposed to be asleep an hour ago. Instead, you're lying in bed replaying a conversation that happened 3 years ago. You remember exactly where you were standing, exactly what you said. You have replayed this moment so many times that you could probably recite the entire conversation from memory. Then a strange thought crosses your mind. Why am I still thinking about this? It's not just conversations. Maybe it's a relationship that ended years ago, a friendship that slowly disappeared, a job you wish you never left. You don't think about these things every day, but when they come back with surprising detail. Most people explain this by saying, I just can't let it go. But that doesn't actually explain anything. The real question is, why does your mind keep returning to the same memories while thousands of other moments quietly disappear? You might have experienced this. You send someone an important message. You wait, an hour passes, then a day. They never reply. Weeks later, you have stopped checking your phone, but every now and then, your mind still asks the same question. Why didn't they answer? Not because the message itself matters anymore, because you never got an ending. There's a reason this happens, and it's actually pretty simple once you see it. Say you finish watching a whole TV series. A week later, you barely think about it. Now say that the streaming service removed the show right before the final episode. You almost knew everything except how it ended. That missing piece would stay in your mind far longer than any show you actually finished. Not because it was your favorite, but because your mind's expecting an ending and never got one. Real life works the same way. Only instead of TV shows, it's relationships, conversations, and decisions as well. The mind keeps going back, not because the past is more important than the present, but because something inside it still feels incomplete. This is why two people can go through the exact same event and remember it completely differently. One person moves on within weeks. The other person thinks about it for years. The difference usually isn't what happened. It's whether the experience felt emotionally finished. Or take a job interview. Everything seems to go well. The interviewer smiles and says they will call you by Friday. Friday comes, nothing. The following week, still nothing. Eventually, you stop expecting the call. But every now and then you still wonder, what happened? Did I say something wrong? Or did they choose someone else? Your mind is trying to complete a story that never reached an ending. Your brain does not like the answer I don't know. It prefers almost any explanation over no explanation at all. That's why after a breakup, people often invent answers. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe they stopped loving me months earlier. Those relationships aren't always accurate, but they reduce uncertainty. And that's one of the most uncomfortable feelings the human mind can sit with. Let's say your manager suddenly stops inviting you to important meetings. Nobody tells you why. Your mind immediately starts creating possibilities. Am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? Are they planning to replace me? Then your manager walks over and says, we have moved you to a different project. That's why you're not in those meetings anymore. Nothing else changes, but your mind becomes quieter almost instantly. Not because you loved the answer, but because you finally had one. Friendships works the same way too. one can slowly disappear. Nobody argued, nobody said goodbye. The messages simply became less frequent until one day you realize that it had been 6 months since you have spoken. Now compare that to a friendship where someone honestly says, I think we have grown in different directions. Both friendships end, but only one gives your mind something solid to hold on to. The other leaves a question you never got to close, and your mind keeps returning to it, hoping to finally close it. But there's another reason people stay attached to the past, and it's got nothing to do with unanswered questions. Sometimes you already know exactly what happened. You know why the relationship ended. You know why you didn't get the job. And still, you find yourself going back. Because what you're searching for isn't an explanation. It's a feeling. The feeling you had before everything changed. People say this all the time. I miss the way things used to be. At first, that sounds simple. But what exactly are they missing? Is it the place, the person, or something else? You're scrolling through old photos on your phone. You stop on a picture from 5 years ago. You remember where it was taken, who you were with, what happened afterwards. Then you think things were so much better back then. Maybe they were, but try this instead of just looking at the photo. Remember the stress you were under the entire year, the arguments you had, the problems that felt enormous at that time. Most of that disappears the moment you look at that picture. The happy moment stays. Everything around it quietly fades away. This is why the past can feel so convincing. Not because it's more honest than the present, but because it's more selective. Your mind doesn't replay every ordinary Tuesday. It holds on to the moment that carried the strongest feelings. Years later, those moments become the entire story, even though they were only part of it. The same thing happens with college too. Everyone says, I miss college. But do they really miss the exams, the deadlines, the money stress? Probably not. What they often miss is how they felt during that time. Maybe they had close friends nearby. Maybe life felt full of possibilities. They are not always trying to go back to college. They are trying to reconnect with who they were while they were there. The same logic applies after relationships end. People often say, I miss my ex. Sometimes that's true, but sometimes what they actually miss is who they were during that relationship. The person who laughed more, the person who felt chosen. Those are not the same thing. You can miss a version of yourself without wanting the relationship back. Or someone changes jobs. The new job pays better. The working hours are better. The people are kinder. And yet, they still think about the old company. Not because the old company was actually better, but because that's where they felt confident. That's where they knew everyone. That's where they felt like they belonged. That attachment isn't always to the place itself. It's to who they were while they were there. So try asking yourself, when you think about the past, what feelings shows up first? Sadness, relief, pride, or hope? Now ask a second question. When was the last time you felt the same feeling in your present life? That's usually where the real answer begins. Confidence works the same way. Someone keeps replaying memories from their 20s and think, I used to be so much more confident. Maybe they were. But confidence isn't something that stayed behind in a particular year. It usually came from the work they enjoyed, the people they were around, and the challenges they were overcoming at that time. When those things changed, the feelings changed too. The year didn't create the confidence. What was happening inside that year made the difference. It's worth being clear about something. None of this means missing the past is a problem or that something is wrong with you for thinking about it. Feeling nostalgic does not mean your life today is failing. It usually means a feeling from back then hasn't fully shown up again since. It also doesn't mean every memory needs to be figured out or solved. Some memories are just going to stay a little unclear, and that's okay. The goal is not to interrogate every old feeling until it makes perfect sense. The goal is to just notice what it's pointing at. There's also another reason people stay attached to old memories, and it has nothing to do with unanswered questions or old identities. Sometimes the past becomes attractive simply because the future feels uncertain. When life feels unclear, the mind often reaches for something familiar, even if that familiar place wasn't actually as good as it remembered to be. You will notice this most when you're unsure about the future. Maybe you're between jobs. Maybe a relationship has just ended. Maybe you have just moved somewhere new. During those times, old memories seem to show up everywhere. And without realizing it, your mind starts comparing your present life to the past. The past always seems to win because it's already finished and safe, while the present still feels unfinished and uncertain. At first, it feels like you're just remembering, but if you pay attention, you will notice you're also comparing. Your mind isn't only replaying what happened, it's quietly measuring your current life against it. And the present rarely gets a fair chance in that comparison because it hasn't finished happening yet. So, can this actually change? Yes, but not by trying to force yourself to stop remembering. That rarely works and it usually backfires. It starts with changing the question you ask. Instead of asking, why can't I stop thinking about the past, you ask, what feeling am I trying to get back? Once you know the feeling, you stop treating the past like the only place it can exist. Someone who misses how creative they used to be can start drawing again today without needing the exact old life back. Someone who misses feeling close to friends can start reaching out today instead of waiting for someone else to do it. The past doesn't have to be the only place those feelings are allowed to exist. That's often what healing actually looks like. Not pretending the past didn't matter, not forcing yourself to stop remembering, but letting the past become part of your story instead of the place where your story stopped. Someone who still regrets ending a friendship years ago might spend a long time asking, why did that happen? Eventually, they realize the friendship taught them how important honesty was. In every friendship after that, they became more willing to speak up when something felt wrong. The past didn't disappear, but it stopped being a place they were visiting. It became something they learned from. Or someone who still misses an old relationship might believe, at first, that they were attached to that person. Over time, they noticed something else. What they really missed was feeling emotionally safe with someone. Once they understood that, they stopped looking for that same person and started looking at that same feeling in the relationships in front of them right now. Let's go back to where it started. It's late at night, you're lying in bed. The same memory shows up again. For years, you have treated that memory like a question waiting for an answer. Tonight, you look at it a little differently. Instead of asking, why can't I stop thinking about this? You ask, what is this reminding me was important to me? Those two questions sound similar, but they are not. One assumes something is wrong with you. The other assumes there's something worth understanding. And that's a much kinder place to begin with. Your mind isn't necessarily asking you to go back. It may simply be asking you to notice something you have been carrying forward without realizing it. So you can start creating the same feeling again today, instead of only finding it in yesterday. Because the past can teach you, it can shape you, it can even comfort you, but it cannot live your next chapter for you. Only today can do that. So the next time an old memory shows up uninvited, you don't have to push it away, and you don't have to assume it means you're moving backward. You can just pause for a moment and ask yourself what's it actually pointing at. Because the goal was never to stop remembering. The goal was only to stop believing that the best parts of your life already happened, since believing that is often the one thing that keeps the present from ever getting a fair chance.